everyone, I'm Didi.
Hey everybody, Arma here, Chi Skills. Today we have another podcast, Chi Skills podcast. Excited?
Very excited because we're gonna talk about
Qigong.
Qigong.
Yeah,
Wow.
our favorite subject. Yeah.
And I think it's so related to our business. I mean, it's the basics of our business.
Yeah, it's what we share, right?
So absolutely.
Yeah, so we've wanted to do this for a while now. It's not an easy subject to have a podcast about because it's so fast. It's such a big thing. But hopefully in this podcast we can enlighten you a little bit about what it is, what it means to us.
And shed a little light about what makes Qigong so special and why it gives the magic sauce to everything.
Absolutely.
But first, maybe it's good to explain what Qigong means, what the words mean.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. So we have the two words, we have Qi and Gong. Qi is mostly translated as energy, and it goes beyond that. But for now, that's okay. We'll dive deeper into that. And then we have the Gong, which is skill. It's also from Kung Fu, which means skill also. So building skill. So we have energy and we have skill. So that's interesting.
Yeah. It's funny that I now realize our business is Chi skills, and it's actually the same thing.
Exactly. Well, if we look at the universe, right? Yeah. There's nothing in the universe that's not energetic, right? Exactly. So it's that's why it's such a fast thing, and it's not per se only like health training or something, right? So it goes
much beyond.
It goes beyond that for sure. So yeah.
But that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's so you were saying Qi is energy, but it goes much further than that.
Well, it's the word we use for it, right? But you could say if and this might be a little bit going far out, but the best translation I ever heard is that it's life.
Oh yeah, and I totally agree.
Right?
Totally agree.
Energy. If everything is energy, then everything that lives is energy. So why it's not called life? Why wouldn't we translate it as a life?
Yeah.
And if we look at that, it's just energy would be, the interaction between a positive and a negative on a certain frequency, and that is life. Right? So
absolutely.
Are you still with us?
This is going like okay. So, no, but it's actually such. We could do a podcast just about Qi because it's something that we don't learn about in Holland. You don't learn about it in school or not really.
Well, not related to us per se, right? Because if it's about us, we have biology, of course.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you have like physics or things like that, right? So it's and that of course they talk about energy, right? But not per se related to us. It's more about universe and small parts and atoms and things like that.
And how they interact with each other.
Yeah, we have some sort of idea that we're built of we have atoms and things like that and molecules and things that's what's that's talked about, but not per se the experience of it, right? So
and that's probably what sets us apart, that we are looking for that experience of Qi.
Exactly.
Yeah, because what you see a lot in Qigong, in Tai Chi, is that people are making movements. They're working with their physical body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's harder to find people who are really implementing that Qi into these movements or into their form.
Totally, yeah. So what you see is a lot of empty form, right? And that's, for a lot of people, that's already great exercise, right? I'm not putting this down in any way, because if people are stressed out and they go with a group and they stand in a park and they slowly wave their arms and they have breathing coordinated with that, it makes them quieter. It will make them feel good, right?
Yeah, and that's great as well.
And that's great, there's a lot of that. But I think why we started this channel is that, it can go way beyond that. And it's not talked about that much, right? I mean, it's more closed door training, you could say. And it's the people who really search for that will find it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. As you might be listening to this now, right? Yeah. So you're probably wondering, there should be more to this than that, right? So and there is much more to that, of course.
So because I love how you your first exercise when new students come in, you let them experience Qi. That's your first exercise.
Exactly. Yeah, because if we're talking about Qigong, they should be able to feel Qi.
Yeah.
And like warm hands and the things like that. That's nice, but it's not enough, right? We really want to feel this magnetic feeling. We want to be, right there in this experience, because then a shift happens. There's just a shift in your perspective, and you get these beautiful reactions. One of the greatest things about being a teacher and teaching this to people is seeing this reaction.
Yeah.
It's incredible. People are changed from that moment on, because it's sort of they hit truth at that point in their life. It's like, you have this aha, or I knew it. I knew there was more. I knew there was something beyond what I experience normally in my life.
And that's great, isn't it? Yeah.
It gives me the chills just talking about it, right? And if I see the reactions on YouTube that people give me now, right, which we are so grateful for, then you can really see, wow, that's, that's awesome.
And that's why you do all the videos about into the internal.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's basic Qigong.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, it wouldn't be considered basic.
No, but it is in a way.
In a way, it is. Yeah,
because it starts with. Of course, it starts with the physical.
Sure.
Because if you cannot, if you don't have your physical body a little bit in shape, it's hard to train and do all the.
Well, that's interesting, and it's good to start there, right? So if we look at the Qigong. And we look at our own energy, there's a vibrational skill there, right? So we have like the most part of us is like our physical, right? It's the bones, and we have the skin and everything that we can touch, right? Touch and feel. But if we start there in that foundation, what is then the magic there? Yeah. So when does it become Qigong instead of just like physical training? Well, that's the difference between if we're having muscle contraction sort of training, which we see a lot, like fitness and and weights and things like that, or we have stretch.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the first things we want to recognize is stretch, and know that stretch, the fascia, the connective tissue, is the foundation of your Qigong practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's so important, because it is the energy body in its most physical form.
Absolutely.
Every cell in your body has a little layer of connective tissue, and that communicates with all the others, right? So all the information goes on that level. Yeah. So if we can open that and stretch and learn how to stretch, we create more. Because if you do extreme stretches, you're gonna activate the fascia to say, you want more, right? You get more. We get more energy, because we're conducting energy. Yeah. Right. So that's the first important thing, and the other important thing is and then what? But why?
Yeah.
Right? Well, it's to release physical tension.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why is that important? Yeah. Well, contracting is the opposite of freedom.
Contracting is the opposite of freedom.
Yeah. So if we have physical stress, and we're not even talking about the mental.
No,
yet,
we're
right?
Still
we're talking about physical stress. Yeah. It feels like a cage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't feel good.
That's right.
And we're getting all sorts of problems from that, right?
Stagnation.
Frozen shoulders, stagnation, the breath is superficial, right? I mean, all these things are feeling as a cage. And look around.
Yeah.
The world, all the energy around us, everything we see, hear, feel, whatever, influences that, right? And our reactions to that also. Yeah. So the first thing we want to recognize, okay, there's physical stress, but we can transform that to elasticity.
Elasticity. And I think that's interesting because in traditional Chinese medicine, if you see, if we translate sickness or well, the opposite of healthy, it's always, there's always either stagnation or shortage of qi, yin or yang. Yeah.
And that,
yin.
Exactly. And that stagnation is the enemy of health, right? Yeah. So, it works two ways, right? So, I mean, a lot of people come into Qigong maybe through a doctor or something, or someone recommends them to them. It's like, okay, this is good for you because, you're... I think most people recognize there's some relaxation part possible with that. It's about relaxing, right?
I think, we see a lot in our clients, because we share a lot of our clients, of course.
Sure.
Because the food that I teach, or herbs is a little bit a different thing, but if you eat the food that is right for you, that adds to your energy or qi.
Yeah, sure. It's your foundation, right? It's the jing.
Yeah, the jing, and
together with the breath and the fascia development and everything, that gives you a great foundation.
So it really helps building your physical body in a good way.
Absolutely.
And from there we can go to that step further. And in the advanced, you go to your emotional body. Yeah.
And so the thing is that, sadly enough, if you look at a lot of Qigong, you don't see the fascia. People are not engaging the fascia, right? Yeah. So that's one of the first things that you can take with you from listening to this. Is like, it's all about the fascia development, right? And then if we are in touch with that, then we can move a step further. And that's what I do with the first practice. When people come in, I let them stretch the fingers and the palms. Yeah. And then we start breathing into the stretch and concentrating on the feeling that appears when we do that. Yeah. And that's when the energy body sort of like says, hello, here I am. Yeah. And that's a feeling, right? That's the feeling of life force. Yeah. And then we're in business.
And then you can continue implementing that into all of your Tai Chi and into your entire life, I suppose.
Every time when we eat, right? We're sitting eating and we're done with eating. It's like, okay, stretch the fingers, right? And we're sitting there like, whoa, right? Because you're directly tuning into the Jing. Yeah. You can talk about Jing, but you can also feel it, right? So how is this food received? Yeah. Right? How is this tingling? Oh man, this feels so good. Wow, wow. And sometimes like,
oh, it's not so good.
It's not so good, right?
Yeah.
So once you have this feeling, you know this frequency, which for most people they feel instantly, right? And then it takes some time to develop because our minds are we have monkey brains, so it's sort of, this monkey is locked into this part of the jungle, right? And this is like in a sort of quieter part of the jungle. Yeah. So it takes some time to get there, but once you get there, it will not leave you, and it will it will be so much part of your life, and feeling becomes a totally different experience because it's literally feeling, and instead of like sort of we're talking about feeling, but really feeling.
I think for a lot of people, it first goes through their brain. Kind of.
Yeah, through the filter, right?
Yeah, they're feeling something and then they need to explain this. And then, so you're feeling through your brain and your your ratio, your ratio.
I think your rational brain, and this is all about, sort of bypassing that. Yeah. And saying, okay, go direct to the feeling.
You're on a different frequency.
Yeah, and that's really important because, we're climbing sort of the ladder on the frequency scale, right? So we have a frequency in the fascia, and then we're moving up. It's like, oh, wow, it's softer there.
Yeah.
The experience is softer. It's quieter, right? So there's always this mental aspect. There's a mental aspect. There's a feeling aspect, and then there's a physical aspect, right? So, but the mind is always there. So the mind is like, oh, there's peace and quiet on this frequency.
Exactly.
And that does something for spiritual development, right?
Yeah. And I must say, learning about this also gave me so much more perspective on my studies. Because the thing is that I studied traditional Chinese medicine. And I mean, almost in every sentence they call, there's Qi involved, because we're working with Qi all the time.
Yeah.
If you've been to an acupuncturist, Qi all the way.
Exactly.
Only that in those studies, while you're studying, we never really work with Qi in a very conscious way, in that we're training and doing the exercises.
Yeah.
That we can feel ourselves and that we can understand on this deeper level, not by knowledge, but by experiencing it.
Yeah. So that's I don't know if that's a thing from the West or something, but I think and I hope that will change in the future. Is that if you have like a high level study for acupuncture or herbs or anything traditional Chinese medicine where we're talking about Qi, is that it comes along with high level Qigong training, right? People should know about all this energy work if you're working with energy, and sadly that's not the case.
Yeah,
it's just not.
It's not. It's strange that when I studied herbs, we were. I had a lesson where we would feel the energy of the plant, but we've never been taught how to feel our own energy, which is funny.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really fun exercise where you just stand with a plant and you can feel the energy field of the plant. Yeah. And so. Yeah,
and and you're communicating with the plant, right?
Yes.
So, So hopefully, that will have a shift in the future. That when that comes out, that we go more into that thing. Yeah.
So and can you tell a little bit more about why this is magic sauce? Why is what can you do with this experience? What is in store for people after doing the?
Well, you can learn to work with this energy, right? And one of the first things we want to learn, one of the most important skills, is that you're able to release yourself on an energy level, right? So that if you recognize, oh, there's something stuck here, like an emotion or whatever, that you can recognize it and release it. Because it's not only about getting as much vital energy as possible. It's also a study of what is where's stagnation there. Yeah. So it starts at the physical, at the muscle, like, oh, there's contraction there, and I feel this stress there. I want to get rid of that. So you transform that. But it's the same on the energy level. It's like, okay, I feel stuck energy here. Yeah. And I have this reoccurring emotional stagnation that I know of, or like, things from trauma or whatever, is that you can release on that level, right? And then if you move up that skill and you go to the mental body, it's the same thing. It becomes more meditative, of course. Yeah. But it's more like you learn how to open the mental body. And it's like, okay, but what's in the way? What's in the way of this mental expansion? Well, it's mental contraction. And what is mental contraction? That's your thought patterns. That's your ego talking. Your conditioning that's stuck. Right. Yeah. So the health aspect goes way beyond like sort of physical health that most people look at Tai Chi or Qigong that way. It's on all levels. Yeah. And see it as a pyramid. Right. Yeah. So you have the bottom, which is more the physical aspect, the Jing aspect, and then you go move up, and there we have the Qi aspect, which is even quieter and has more space in the feeling, and then we're opening up in the mental body. Yeah. So the peak of the pyramid is what it's all about, really. Yeah. Because the stress there You
translate.
It trickles down into into the foundation, right? Yeah. So you don't start with physical stress, right? Unless you have maybe
and that's what I find so beautiful of learning from traditional healthcare systems. I'm not sure if that's the right translation, but is that in the traditional way, we always looked at people as a holistic. So in a whole,
as a being,
a being with where the physical was just as important as the emotional, and that it was all interconnected with each other. Yeah. So if you and I think we acknowledge this by now. But if we are under a lot of stress, if we are very sad, it has an impact on our physical bodies. It's not just a lottery ticket that, I get something in my physical body and there was no pointers. There is stagnation somewhere. There is something where you're holding on. Yeah. And all these levels really work together. And also, you're not it's not that you're isolated from what's around you.
No, totally.
All these energies that are around you, you're in this big energy field. So we're
big.
It's huge. It's like
it's infinite, people. It's infinite, right?
So, but we're all interconnected, and and you cannot cut yourself loose from that, and that's what we've been experiencing. Well, when I was growing up, that we're so fragmented in how we learn about things.
Yeah, absolutely. We're sort of moved into that corner of a room, right? We were sort of pushed there. It's like, okay, there's everything, right? And we don't see the other. We're with our back to the room, right? But who is courageous enough? Who's the rebel and looks over the shoulders like, well, this is nice that you're pushing me in this corner here, in this part of my brain, right? But no, so most people who are still listening now are people who are a little bit more rebellious and know or have experienced a pretty rude wake-up call. It's like, this cannot be everything, right? There's more to this. So we have all these frequencies, and the magic sauce of the Qi is that the mental body and the physical. The Qi is the overlap between those. So if you learn to work with that, you can release stagnation on all levels. You can move energy. You can move energy through the meridians. You can soothe the organs that way, right? But then, as you were saying, you're also part of a whole. So it doesn't end with you. There's this environment, right? So how can we tune into the environment? Well, that's when it becomes real high-level Qigong, where you open the crown, tune into the Wuji, like the canvas that's underneath everything. So we're functioning on all these, not only on different frequencies, but also on different plateaus, right? Yeah. So the physical, if we go back to the physical, that's stuck here and in the now, right? Yeah. It's just time dependent and place dependent. But if you move up to the Qi level, you release time.
Wow.
It's timeless.
And then it gets really interesting.
Yeah, because you're in a different state there, right? And the mental, it's not connected to that place or here. You can be anywhere. You can mental travel, right? So it's not only about health, right? Or maybe we should say, what is health then? Yeah. Health is all about knowing yourself and knowing how to release yourself and knowing how to work with energy. And I mean, we have to do more about these and explore these plateaus, because I'm only getting started now.
Yeah, and the time is almost gone for this podcast. So I think we have a great subject for the next one.
Absolutely.
But I hope this was helpful. It might have been quite a big theme.
As it should be, because people should, the first thing with Qigong is that you sort of get confused, like, whoa, this is so fast. But it needs to be like that as well. But, don't worry, we'll go through these levels in next podcasts. Yeah.
And hope and make yours, or give yourself the openness to experience it. And
absolutely. It's great. All an experience. So
hope this was helpful. And see you in the next one.
Bye, people.
Bye.
Bye.